the outcome of this session is really to increase our capacity on ethical awareness and sensing. Okay, and also what I want you to get out of the session also is to demonstrate your ability to recognize and interpret ethical dimensions and issues embedded in different situations, because there's no right or wrong sometimes with ethical issues. Another important thing I want you to take away from the session is to demonstrate the understanding of the role of the code of conduct in an accounting profession. Be you ICANN, CPA, ACCA. I just need that. It's important that you have the understanding of the code of ethics so that you can apply it as and when needed. Obviously, to understand how culture plays a critical role in ethics and human behavior. To also understand the moral tenets of self-interest, agency, then risk and agency risk and the responsibilities of business management and public interest. So this is very key. So the kind of case studies and scenarios we'll look at in the course of the presentation today will also be for us to learn lessons. We don't have to go through the problems ourselves. Sometimes we can learn lessons from other people's mistakes and then how to ensure we avoid such in the future. Does everyone or anyone know about the duck test? Okay, the duck test is if it looks like a duck, if it quacks like a duck, if it swims like a duck, then what is it? It probably is a duck, right? And the reason why I have shared this very critical duck test is if something doesn't look right, if something doesn't feel right, if you're not comfortable with something, then that means there really is a situation there. And I'm talking about your work situation. I'm talking about in your office. I'm talking about when there's a material misstatement. I'm talking about when there's an unethical practice in your organization. If it doesn't feel right, it doesn't look right, and your inner senses are not comfortable with that situation, then maybe there really is a problem. Like I said, we're going to first talk about the importance of corporate governance. And the reason why, I think it's important to always have definitions is, first and foremost, if we didn't need definitions, we wouldn't need a dictionary. Okay. It's good to define things to get a better understanding of what these things actually mean. And so corporate governance provides a structured framework that dictates how a company is run and how a company interacts. So I took my time here to sort of break it down. So it's important that we understand corporate governance, understand directors, understand board of directors, understand the management, understand stakeholders, both external and internal stakeholders. And so here we see where we have a separation of power in this little pictorial view that I sort of used to explain the different separation of powers and ownership when it comes to corporate governance. So a company's board of directors has a legal right and the ethical obligation to ensure that the company's strategies are achieved and to ensure the company remains, a sustainable and successful company. Okay, so when you have a company, you have a strategy, a long-term strategy, you have, the objective, the mission and the vision of that company. Okay. And then you have board of directors, you have non-executive directors, you have executive directors, you have your management and who carry out your strategy. They manage the day-to-day running of that business. And so this is where the issue of agency comes in, because stewardship and agency, the directors sometimes will look at what will benefit them, right? So the whole essence of corporate governance, where the board looks at the risk, make sure that there's a risk team, an audit team, accounting team, marketing team. They have all these managers they put together that report to the managing director. But then they're also very, very critical. They're also very mindful of the fact that everyone is a stakeholder, both the employees, both their customers, their suppliers, they're all stakeholders. So they have people that they impact via their business. Now, let's look at the threats to corporate governance. Okay. And I'm going to give you a scenario that just happened recently. So the threat to the lack of independence of the board, when the board is not, you don't have that objectivity to share your views on the board, where the chairman just breathes over you and doesn't allow you, even suggest anything on the board. Inadequate oversight. Sometimes the board just has meetings once a year. You should have meetings periodically, and they just let the management do whatever they want. They're not really interested in the company. As far as the numbers look good, they're not looking at internal controls, behavior, culture, and all of those things. I'm sure you've heard this quote that says, "Culture eats strategy for breakfast." So if you have a bad culture within an organization, it's going to be very difficult for you to have an enabling environment for people to grow, for people to develop and achieve success in that company. Threats to corporate governance, weak internal controls, conflicts of interests. The scenario I wanted to share with you is one where there's a managing director of a big oil and gas company that was hired. The managing director comes with sterling record and he's excited about this new job. The chairman of the company has a competitive company to this other company. Is he the chairman? He's the chairman because he's the largest shareholder. He owns about 65% of this company, but he has another company that he owns 100% that is competing with this other company. Not only that, this new managing director comes with so much zeal and wants to, improve the numbers on the stock exchange. This is a PLC. So I bought the stock of this company at 14 naira. And when this managing director came on board with this zeal and ambition to drive this company forward, pick low-hanging fruits, make an impact, I saw this stock go up. The stock doubled. And as at now, the stock is about 35 naira. It was at 14 naira. It's about 35 naira as at today. So there's been a significant improvement in the affairs of this company. But guess what? The chairman is not happy. What the chairman wants is for the stock to be devalued even more so that he can buy out all the shares and own probably 90% of the company. It's a conflict of interest. And the chairman doesn't want this managing director to make this company stand out and be top 5 within the oil and gas industry. Conflict of interest. After a while, the new managing director decided to exit and he resigned. So it's important that we understand that if you don't have the right support as an accountant in a company, the enabling environment to achieve corporate governance, your hands will be tied. It'll be very difficult. But again, we're just starting. So let's continue to the next slide, which will talk about public interest and stakeholder. So stakeholders and public interest. What is public interest? And this is in line with the ISBA's, principle. And it is, for me, I think, is the social science, the economics, and the welfare and the well-being of the general public. And so, for me, public interest is about public good. Whether you be a government agency or a state or a federal government, United Kingdom, America, Nigeria, Africa, governments are there to ensure that the welfare of the citizenry and the well-being of the citizenry is achieved. They want infrastructural development, they want good healthcare systems, they want good education systems, but also the companies within those systems, those ecosystems are very vital because they create jobs. They also have corporate social responsibilities. They also have what they play in their environment, like manufacturing companies, like insurance companies, so many companies. So everybody, is working towards a public good. Not only that, everybody is a stakeholder of the other. Whether you be a supplier or your client or your staff or, employee, you are all stakeholders. And so one thing that's important is to have economic certainty. So when you have public good being achieved, there's economic certainty, there's the enabling environment for businesses to thrive, like I mentioned before, education, food security, and the general well-being of the people. Now, accountants have that primary responsibility to ensure public interest and public good is achieved. Because for you, you're not just looking at both the people that your company serve, even internally within the company, you're ensuring that the reputation of the company, you're ensuring that the shareholders' value is being achieved, you're ensuring that the storytelling and the criticality of the financial statements and reports are true and fair. So everybody for you, it's very critical that you serve public interest. Everyone is critical for accountants. And then you have what is called professional responsibility. So ensuring corporate governance, ensuring the code of ethics are being adhered to, ensuring public interest is being achieved is your core professional responsibility as an accountant. Even if the beauty of being an accountant is one that is evolving now, right? It's evolving, and the beauty is that you are evolving with the innovation. You're evolving with time. Accountants are now doing so much more than just number crunching. They're doing so much more. And so I think the beauty of professional responsibility is knowing what is your core code of conduct, ethical code of conduct, and then ensuring that for each activity and each role that you occupy, that you use that as a guiding principle for you to achieve success in that particular role. And so client welfare, again, confidentiality, these are essential. Being accountable, being transparent, timely delivery of reports, analysis, diversity, reporting on economic, social, and governance. Looking at now we have new reporting guidelines on diversity, inclusion, gender bias. I'm still dealing with gender bias. So I think it's a good problem. That gender bias is I think is a good problem, because I think the female gender need opportunity. But anyway, that's a topic for another day. Now, this is a good way to now bring in the core, which is code of ethics. And for me, like I've discussed corporate governance with you, I've discussed public interest with you. Now, the code of ethics is one that for me is critical. So if you look at what IFAC has done, what ACCA has done, what ICANN has done, what CPA has done, and what the IESBA has done, all of it together are so similar. The issues of integrity, the issues of objectivity, the issues of professional competence and due care, confidentiality, professional behavior. These guidelines and these principles are the core and the foundation of what makes you an outstanding accountant. It's a foundation of your career, okay? Because accountants today are doing so much around the world. And so this diagram sort of clearly delineates what they mean and separates them and explains to you what it means to be honest, what it means to be unbiased, what it means to you to act credibly, what it means for you to have good professional behavior, what it means for you to zip it and not discuss client confidential information, and of course, professional due care. Now, the issue of ethics is about really your moral compass. And I could bring in issues of culture into this, your belief system, your religious system, because in different places, in different jurisdictions, the way ethics is is treated different. And I have a slide to show you, so take note of that. The way ethics is handled and treated in different places is different. The way whistleblowing is treated in different places is different. In some places, you want to be a whistleblower, just dig your grave. In some places, you want to be a whistleblower, you have the protection of the state and of everybody. So it's different for some. But what is right, and what is wrong, But there are gray areas when it comes to ethics. Now, there's a great philosopher called Immanuel Kant. He's a German philosopher. And Immanuel Kant's ideology was that if you should be able to use your moral reasoning and your moral judgment. Sometimes some things are just clear, black and white. So I had mentioned to you my hobby about baking earlier on. If you don't want a cake to fall, don't open the oven once you put the cake in the oven. Then it will rise beautifully and you have a beautiful cake, or even bread. But once you open the oven and air goes in, that cake is going to dip. That's just black and white. Now, what you find is that what the categorical imperative is saying is that do to others what you want them to do unto you. Okay. And that also has a very religious, tonation to it as well. And so ethics is very interesting, and it's had failures in the past. If you look at in the early 2000s, we had a situation with Enron. There are corporate failures. Lehman Brothers, Arthur Andersen, all of these accounting firms and oil and gas firm and investment banking firm had corporate failures because ethics were breached and code of conducts were breached, and there was just, bad behavior in those companies. So that's just ethics in general. And then, so this is now, talking of IFAC and the fact that they're all interrelated and embedded from the ISBA. So, be it ACCA, be it wherever you are, the code of ethics are very, very similar now, the same. You see the financial statements have material, substances in there. You see that there's so much error and so much unethical things, but you just turn, which direction do we go as professional accountants? Now, to continue with threats, I'll discuss dilemmas. And I would have wanted this to be an interactive session. I had a surgery and I wanted to be there with you to make it more interactive. Let's look at scenarios. And this scenario, looking at scenarios. So a lawyer defending its client accused of a serious crime, ethically bound to provide the best possible defense. Lawyers defend people that are guilty all the time. And the lawyers will even use loopholes within the profession to challenge the prosecution's evidence. People say lawyers are liars. So look at the P happening in California and with the whole music industry. I'm sure P. Diddy's lawyer knows that P. Diddy is guilty, but he's doing all he can and put his entire, this is food for thought. What about a doctor who suspects that his patient is using cocaine and very bad drugs and is not good for his health? So the doctor is bound to keep confidential his and say, I think my patient is a drug dealer. Tough one. An accountant who discovers a fraudulent financial practice within a company must decide whether to disclose it internally or externally. But I think one thing that is critical is for you to document whatever you observe or whatever you sense. So if it looks like a duck, acts like a duck, probably is a duck. Then have you ever felt uncomfortable with how a company collects technology? I know technology is doing a lot for us and making life a lot easier. It's helping us with our trial balances. It's helping us with our sampling. But then there are really serious ethical downsides with AI and technology. This is where I think the breach of bias, identity theft. I've had a credit card in my name to somebody I don't even know using money, and then I'm being asked to pay, and it's now on my credit file saying you are owing £200 to this company. I'm thinking, I don't even know who this company is. Okay. Or I don't even know who these people are. So like, who is it? But it's my name that was used. That is a clear case of identity theft. And luckily, I was able to prove that this isn't me. I didn't ask for this credit card. It isn't me. I'm not in possession of it. It's a clear case of identity theft. So these are ethical dilemmas. Now, accountants' role in ensuring public trust. It's important that I speak about our role in our profession, because over time, accountants' profession has really evolved. And I think it's so beautiful, like I said to you, because we've moved from the technical realm to storytelling, to defending the reputation of the financial records and of the company. It's moved from just being behind the back office now. Accountants are CEOs. Accountants are politicians, just like myself. Don't even ask me how I delved into back office accounting, to investment banking, to being a political appointee, and then being a politician, which is what I've just gotten into now. I believe that if you want change to happen, you need to be a politician to be able to navigate that change. So what is it that you need to do as an accountant to ensure public trust? And it's critical to have transparency and accountability, a clear, accurate, timely financial information. These are very critical. But you need to have the environment to be able to do these things. So openness is very critical. Accountability is very critical. Building trust is very critical. There's one thing I learned, Business 101. People don't do business with people they don't trust or people they don't like. So there needs to be a level of trust and integrity that comes with the company that you work with and that comes with financial statements that you have prepared and you have signed, or that you have given a true and fair view report and opinion on as an auditor. You need to be able to exercise your independence objectively as an auditor without any fear of intimidation whatsoever. So the enabling environment is important. As much as you have the board have the first eye to ensure the corporate governance and public interest is achieved, and then accountants within the system have a second eye and the fiducial duty to ensure the transparency and public interest is achieved, auditors have to have the third eye, both internal and external auditors. So every level that you face or every level that you come across, there's a checking point at all times to ensure that there isn't unethical behavior or corruption happening with the company. You have to ensure corporate governance regulations are adhered to. You have to ensure that auditors, like I mentioned, have a third eye and other checking points. You have to ensure risks and mitigations to these risks. You have to ensure that climate change policies are being adhered to. You have to ensure the people, planet, and profit policies within the company are being adhered to. They say charity begins at home. You have to ensure the internal stakeholders within your company have the enabling environment to grow and thrive. You have to ensure there's disciplinary procedures. I have a problem with some jurisdictions because I think the Securities and Exchange Commission are not petitioning or sanctioning companies enough for bad behavior within some jurisdictions. I know in the UK, if you are in any way suspected or caught for corruption, I know it's jail. You'll be in Her Majesty's service for years. But in some places, it's the order of the day. And I'll show you a very nice quote to back that up. So data privacy laws have to be put in place because you don't see it, tick, 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 and you just tick to move on. But all of that ticking means you're saying, yes, please go ahead, share my data to the world. But you don't have the patience to read through it, to see those small fine lines of saying, sell my data. And of course, impact reporting and ESG and artificial intelligence, all of that policy documents have to be ensured that you adhere to them as an accountant. So you have to be an ethicist. Can you see the word? Ethicist. Now, this also talks about internal controls and auditor independence. I sort of touched on this, looking at mitigation, ensuring efficiency, safeguarding of assets, looking at monitoring and strengthening audit independence. All of these have to be achieved. And, being able to provide an unbiased opinion, of the company's financial status and the company's financial reports. I think when you have the right environment to do your job, you do your job beautifully. You don't have an issue unless you have self-interest issues, which I know many of you do not have. Upholding public trust and corporate governance. So mitigating the threats, that accountants face. And like I had mentioned before, accountants and auditors need to have the right environment to be able to enable them succeed in achieving public interest and public trust. There are many accounting professional insights that guide you on how to do this. If you have your CPDs and you read your magazines and you read your articles that are being shared by the accounting professional bodies, if you attend the training sessions, it's okay. So basically, it's like I mentioned, training, building capacity, establish clear codes, transparent and open communication, and strong leadership. These are what gives you the enabling environment for you to be able to, achieve your ethical guidelines and also to achieve good corporate governance and public interest. So like I said, we'll believe the right thing is the right thing. Using your moral compass is important. Using pure reasoning is very important. But sometimes we're faced with hard decisions. Like now, on a good day, nobody will steal a baby's cloth or a baby's blanket. Nobody would do that. If you see a baby in the cold, you wouldn't steal their blanket. But however, we have real life situations whereby there isn't a wrong answer, and you need to just use your moral compass to judge those situations. Okay. Then also, like I said, accountants have to be at the helm of affairs when it comes to corporate governance and public interest, regardless of their culture and jurisdiction. Like I said, if you're in Japan, a corrupt person does what? Kills himself. If you're in China, they'll kill him. If you're in Europe, you definitely go to jail. If you're in Africa, what happens is right there. And some of them even give themselves national awards after they've been known to be corrupt. And so corruption, the World Economic Forum actually claimed that corruption is present in all countries, rich, poor, developing, or undeveloping countries, okay? And the cost of corruption today is about $2.6 trillion. So we have a lot of work to do in ensuring we follow diversity reports, ESG reports, sustainability reports, inclusive reports, and clear, concise financial statements. To that end, I'll just say to you that we have a fiducial duty to continue to exude our professional, uphold our professional code of conduct to ensure that ethical rules are followed at all times. And our role as accountants and our commitments is very important to continuous progressive development and into ensuring that we can support companies, support whoever our clients and stakeholders are to achieve corporate governance and public interest. And we must educate ourselves and update ourselves with the ESG principles, climate bonds and green climate principles to ensure that we are up to date with other reporting standards that are required of us. Thank you very, very much.